guys, welcome back. This is Simrova here. Glad to have you back. If you haven't already, go ahead and check the previous video I made. That was my first video ever, and it was on the Book of Narnia. I started with The Magician's Nephew. It's an awesome book. If you haven't gotten it, I recommend you read it. But yes, I will put a timestamp in the description below if you want to skip the intro, but I recommend you don't because I typically describe what happened in the previous video in a very brief description, so I recommend you listen to that first. And a channel update, I decided I will be doing 2 videos a week because I am a slow reader, and you slow readers out there can completely sympathize with me about how long it takes you to read a book, especially one this thick. And I'm only in the first book. And I will be doing 2 videos a week. So this is the second video this week, and I'll be doing 3 chapters at a time. So bear with me, 2 videos a week, that's all I'm going to do because I have other things in life to do. But let's go ahead and jump into the description for the last 3 chapters. In the first 3 chapters, we have Diggory and we have Polly. In chapter 1, they're in London first. They stumble upon an attic in one of the houses connects to a study where Diggory's uncle Andrew was researching these rings that go to another world. So he tricks them into going into this world. So both Diggory and Polly are in this world. It's called the Wood Between the Worlds. And that was chapter 3, I believe. I kind of skipped chapter 2. And chapter 3, they check that they can go home because in the woods there are all these pools, and they connect other worlds and they make sure they can get back home. And it works. Now they're about to jump into another pool. And keep in mind, this world is very peaceful, relaxing, very dreamlike. Just keep that in mind, because that will be very important in the next chapter. Alright, so this is where the timestamp is skipping to. Now we are in chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called The Bell and the Hammer. And it starts off, they jump in the pool to another world, and now they travel there. When they get there, it is not what they expected. This place is the complete opposite of the woods. And what I mean, as I mentioned before, the woods are very peaceful and very calm and very relaxing. I described it as if you're on anesthesia in the first video. Very fuzzy, and you're just so relaxed. It's so pleasant being there. But this place is dreadful. It's dead. If you can imagine an apocalyptic world, that's what this is. And what I mean is the skies are crimson red, which coincidentally I'm wearing a red shirt, which I didn't plan to do that. But yeah, kind of imagine a darker, deeper red of this shirt in the sky. And the atmosphere there is just dead. There's no life. You don't sense any life. If there are any plants, they're dead. And the setting, there are these ruins everywhere. So imagine kind of more ancient castle type ruins, crumbled to pieces. You see some things standing, but some are broken in half and laying on the ground, scattered about. So you can imagine Polly and Diggory are very set off by this, especially Polly. If I were her, I would be turning hightail and run. But Diggory was like, hey, since we came this far, let's not just leave. So they decide to keep on going in, and they have their hands right by their pockets just in case, because in their pockets they have the rings, the yellow and green rings, which oh gosh, I forget which one. One of them gets you back to the pool world, to the woods. And they keep going in, and, the same old, very dark, scary, dreadful. And then they stumble upon this room. And there are these big iron doors, and they open up the iron doors, and they go inside. And inside, nothing's scary, but you see this imagine an oval room, kind of shaped like that. So they're coming in from the top and walking in, if you're looking face down. And so it's shaped like that. And there are chairs long, set up all around the edges. And there are people in all those chairs. And at the very other side of the room, there's a very important figure, which you can imagine could be an official or a king or a queen or something. But these people are frozen. And they walk in, and they notice the people closest to them are very happy, and you see their facial expressions. They're frozen, they're happy, they're smiling. They have these ancient clothes, these robes on with very intricate designs on them. And we can tell they're kind of higher up in the social status. And as they walk in further into the room, they can tell the facial expressions are changing, and not in a good way. They're turning into more greedy smiles. And they're like, those kind of smiles. And then as they walk further, they see the other people closer to the person on the opposite side of the room, where you can see they're pretty important over there. The people closer to that person are sad. It's like on their face they've lost all hope of whatever they're going through, like something dreadful was happening, which isn't a surprise because of what it looked like outside. So they finally get to the person on the other side of the room, the very important person, and she is described as being beautiful, in Diggory's eyes, that is. And she's very beautiful, extremely tall. I'm 6'2". She is taller than me. And you can tell by her face, she's very stern. And you can see the confidence in her eyes, as if she's not fearless of anything. And she's very stern. On her robes are very intricate designs, very royal, and you can just get the sense she's very important. But at the same time, I can tell she is about as arrogant as anyone can get. When I read that part, I was like, this lady is going to be arrogant. She's probably a queen, and she's going to be a stuck-up, not going to say the word, but you know what I mean. She's very full of herself, I could just tell. And Polly was kind of set off about this. But then they turn around, and behind them, I don't know if it was there before, but there's this platform, stone platform in the middle of the room. And on it, there's a bell. And then there's a hammer. Ding, 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 that's the title of the chapter. And they go up to it, and there's a message on it. And they read it, and it basically says, if you hit this bell, there's bound to be danger. If you don't hit it, basically, you can go on living your peaceful life. So Diggory would not have any of that, and he was like, yes, let's do it. And Polly did that response where, you know how you assume someone will agree with you when you say something? And she says, yeah, we're not hitting that anytime soon. And she thought Diggory was going to agree with her. But he did not. And Polly said, are you crazy, Diggory? We are not hitting that bell. And so it ended in a scuffle, and he ended up hurting Polly because he could not resist hitting the bell. And so he kind of pushes over her and kind of fighting, and he like twists her arm, her hand in a weird way, and he reaches around her, grabs the bell, grabs the bell, grabs the hammer, and then smacks that bell. And then she quickly turns, and then this beautiful solid tone rings, and it's soft at first, and it's a very steady, constant tone. And then it gets louder and louder and louder to the point where this entire building is starting to shake, and parts of the ceiling are falling down, and it seems like all hell is going to break loose. And then, before they knew it, everything stopped. And so that's when they realized someone was moving. And I think you know who it is. So that ends chapter 4. Chapter 5 is called The Deplorable Word. So we're in chapter 4. Chapter 5. The Deplorable Word. And it turns out the Queen Lady has come to life. And the kids are very frightened. And the Queen turns out to be exactly as the way I described. She looked down upon Diggory and was very royal, and she was like, who sent you here? Who sent you here? And she pulls up his chin, looking down at him. Who brought you here? What magician? I can tell you are not a magician. Who brought you here? And, she doesn't understand Earth, and Uncle Andrew is just a normal person, not a magician really, but he kind of is. But basically, she doesn't give a crap about Polly and ignores her the entire time. I'm not sure why, she just ignores her. No, Revy, my kitty cat wants to come up. Stop. So the Queen says, like, come with me. And so she grabs their hands, and she has a very strong grip, and she's just walking them royally. She's very tall, and they're way down by her sides, and she's grabbing them with her hands, and she's just walking them out. She's like, come, we must go. And she is very stern, fearless, just going forward, doing her thing. And she's kind of describing things as they're leaving the room. They're walking out into the courtyards, into the destroyed world. And she's describing a few things, but the gist of it is the name of the town, the city they're in, is called Charn. And what happened was, as you would expect, this queen, this lady, wanted to rule the entire world, which kind of explains the destruction and the apocalyptic world. But there's more behind it. So she goes on to say, there was a war here, and she blames her sister for the ultimate result of the world they are in at that time. And what happened was, as she was conquering the world, yes, she killed thousands of people. She is evil as all get out. And she was saying to her sister, don't resist me. I offer you protection and I will spare your meaningless life. And the sister would not have any of that. And so she gathered all the forces of the world, all the kings, all the men, soldiers, women, whoever wants to fight, and they gather an army. They fought for 3 entire days. And you're probably wondering who was winning? Who do you think? The Queen or the Allied forces? And the Queen was actually losing. And so she's in that room where the kids, Diggory and Polly, found her. And she's at the top of the stairs. They walked up some stairs to that building. And she's standing at the foot of that door. And all her men are dying. She doesn't care. The Queen doesn't care that her soldiers are dying. She uses them. She only cares about getting her own will done. She uses people. So she is evil, not caring. 3 days pass. She's standing there. All her men have died. You're thinking, well, that's a good thing. That means her sister is going to kill her and save the world. But that's not the case. What happened? The sister is charging up those stairs. She has all the Allied forces with her, and they're coming up to the top, and they're roaring with confidence. They know they're going to win. They get to the top, and the Queen is face to face with her sister. And the sister is like, ha, victory. We have won. Now you will end, your life will be ended. But the Queen says back to her, you're right. It is the end. But not for me, for you. And then at that very moment, she says the deplorable word, which they talked about it before. I haven't said anything about it yet. But she said the deplorable word, and apparently it has such a nasty magic, such a dark magic. No one else in the entire world dared say it. All the kings of that world were too afraid to even speak it. Now, they don't tell you what that word is, but at that moment, the Queen speaks that word, and everybody before her disappears. They die. Her sister, every Allied force, men, fighter, they're all gone. Now, the people, you're probably wondering, the people in the room, in that oval room, those people were the Queen's people. And as you know, she doesn't care what happens to them. And of course, there's a downside to using that magic. And what happened was it froze her until the time someone hits that bell. And now we know Diggory screwed up big time. And we all saw that coming a mile away, but he screwed up big time. And now they both know they need to get the heck away from her. Because if they don't, they very well may die. And they ended up spilling some information about their world. They're saying, so why is the sky red here? And she said, oh, it's always been like that. That sun is dying. And then she said, oh, so you have a younger world, do you? Take me to it. But they know they shouldn't take her to it. And Polly said something to piss the Queen off. And so she lets go of their hands. She grabs Polly by the hair, and she's like, you insolent brat. And in that moment, Diggory says, now, Polly, quick. And so they reach into their pockets, and they don't even have to put the rings back on. They touch the rings. I think it's the green one. And in that instant, they disappeared. Polly and Diggory disappeared. And if you can imagine, whenever you swim in a pool and you're coming up from the water, you swim down in the water and you're coming up, you're rising up out of the water, and you see how the light shimmers through the waves as you're looking up, coming up out of the water. Imagine that. So they're disappearing, and they're coming back up into the woods between the worlds, back in that peaceful place. So they're rushing up, and finally they're back. And so, phew, we can take a breath. They're back, they're safe. We all know that's too good to be true. So, fast forward to chapter 6. In chapter 6, it's called The Beginning of Uncle Andrew's Troubles. And so, I do notice I am running over on time. Sorry it's a bit long. But in this chapter, the queen was actually with them. They found out that if you touch someone who's about to use the ring, all you have to do is touch them, and they will come with you too. So the queen is with them, but she's very weak and frail. And something in that world weakened her. She was like the witch from Snow White with the evil apple. And she is very weak, and she is pleading for mercy. Help me, help me. But Polly and Diggory are like, all right, let's just get the heck out of here. Come on. And so they reach in their pockets. They're going back to London. They go back to the pool, and they reach in their pocket, touch the rings. But Diggory, in that instant, felt some cold fingers just touch him, right as he was touching the ring. And so they're taken back to London. The witch, now they call her a witch because they know she's evil. And they took the witch back to London with them. And now you can imagine how much trouble their world is in. Because if we know how powerful this lady is, she is really strong. And she has magic, but we don't even know if she can use it. So she's back in the room where Uncle Andrew's study is. And Uncle Andrew is still there. And he is awestruck. He's like, oh God, what is that? And the kids are like, oh crap, we just brought the witch back with us. And she is filling up that entire room. They say if anybody in that world had seen her, they would say she has 10 times more life than the average person, just by looking at her. So they know they had screwed up big time bringing her. And so, and Uncle Andrew, being the coward he is, submits to her bidding, and he's like, welcome, Queen. I humbly welcome you to our world. And she's like, you filthy rat, are you the magician that was calling me to this world? And he's like, I don't know if I'm a magician of sorts, but, well, and he goes on talking, and she's like, okay, shut up, you rat. You talk too much. Go. You will come with me, and you'll get me new clothes, and I shall conquer this world. Go, now. Get me a carriage, and take me to get new clothes. So, and Uncle Andrew rushes down, and, Diggory and Polly are still standing in the room, and the queen, the witch at this point, doesn't even care about the existence of Polly and Diggory. She's just standing there, waiting, while Uncle Andrew is downstairs. So fast forward, at this time, they're up there in the attic, and Uncle Andrew's down there. So we're going to Uncle Andrew. So he's down there, and he's like, oh no, okay, so I need to look really nice and pretty and handsome, like I'm a very important person. So he goes and gets his top hat on and his best coat, and he's like, okay, so I shall get a carriage, but first I need some money. Ooh, where do I get some money? And we all know he has a wife, and I haven't said his wife yet. The wife is called Aunt Letty, and she's down there too. And let's switch back to the attic. The queen has grown impatient, and she's like, "What is taking that fool so long?" And she goes down there. She leaves the room, goes downstairs. I assume she goes outside. So Aunt Letty did not see the witch, and the witch went outside. And so switch back to Uncle Andrew. And Uncle Andrew is down there, and he got his clothes on, but he needs some money to get a cabbie to call a horse to come. And he's like, Aunt Letty. And she's like, "Why are you getting all dressed up, huh?" And I like to describe Aunt Letty as, let me grab it real quick, Aunt Letty as the teapot lady from Beauty and the Beast. She's very stern in her ways, and she cleans up around the house. So you imagine her wearing an apron, long sleeves, the old school style. And she's like, "Huh, where are you going all dressed up?" And he says, "Well, we have a very distinguished guest coming. So if you will, do you have any money for a cabbage I might have?" And she's like, "Huh, distinguished guest, my butt. You bringing someone home important? I highly doubt that. You don't know anybody important. I've known you my whole life. You don't know anyone important." And at that moment, the queen, the witch, bursts in through the door and comes in. And she stands there filling up the entire room. And Aunt Letty's jaw drops. And that ends chapter 6. So that's the end of this video for now. But I strongly recommend you stay to watch the next one, chapters 7, 8, and 9. Because the 9th chapter is probably my favorite chapter so far. It's so magical, awe-inspiring. I just can't wait to describe it. It's really cool. And you're probably curious, what is the queen going to do in London? You have this super strong Lady Evil as all get out in the world and on Earth. How is London going to react to her? Are the police going to catch her? How are the people there going to react? Because she looks down on people. She's so full of herself and uses people. And if I know people pretty well, generally, we don't like to be talked down to. And we will report them to the authorities and get her dealt with. So it's very curious what's going to happen. And also think about Aunt Letty. If she is like that stern, sassy teapot lady, how are their personalities going to clash? How is the queen going to respond to that? Who knows? So stay tuned. Thanks for coming by again. This was my second video ever. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Again, thanks for watching, and remember, this is Simra over here. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.